I think we're live now. Shouldn't we start?
She was going to give me the high sign, but I can't. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our session on emerging local industries. So nice to have you with us. I am Joe Phillips. I'm the Dean of the Albert School of Business and Economics at Seattle University, and I will be moderating our panel discussion. We have three great panelists, and I will be asking them to give a brief introduction of themselves and make some opening remarks before we go into some Q&A. So first, we have Heather Redmond. Heather is co-founder and managing partner of Flying Fish Partners. Heather.
Great, and I'm going to apologize to this wonderful, wonderful group of people. Thank you all for getting up early, and hopefully many of you are still in your PJs. I have to leave early for another meeting that unfortunately conflicted with this one, but I love this this group. I love the that what you pulled together. The attendance was, when I saw the numbers, just stunning. And I also have to say, just thank goodness for Bellevue. You know, Seattle, where I live, has its challenges. I have been quipping lately that Seattle is on its way to becoming a suburb of Bellevue. But I am so deeply grateful for what you are doing, and you know, hope to help and participate in every way I can. It's great to have two economic powerhouses so close to each other just across the lake. So thank you for that. So my firm is a seed stage firm, which basically means we write, you know, $1 million, $2 million checks into the initial kind of big money raise of a company. And usually that company is just, you know, 5 to 10 people strong. And our particular area of concentration is artificial intelligence and machine learning, which you can basically think of as automation. Big data used to be a term people used. Robotics, you know, falls within our wheelhouse as well. And that's an area that we think this region is quite strong in today and destined to be even stronger in the future.
Great, thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Andy Liu. Andy's a serial entrepreneur and currently co-founder of Unlock Venture Partners. Andy?
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me here. It is an honor to be here. And just a little bit about Unlock Venture Partners. We are up and down the West Coast, Seattle, San Francisco, and LA, but primarily invest in Seattle and LA companies, early stage seed and pre-seed. And we tend to invest in entrepreneurs that have an orientation around data, but we'll invest in enterprise, SaaS, consumer, fintech, real estate tech, and so forth.
Great. And then our final panelist is Richard Gustafson. He's CEO of Power Light Technologies. Richard?
Thank you, Joe. And again, really appreciate being here. It is an honor to be able to present today. A little background on Power Light. Power Light has developed the first of its kind long distance wireless power beaming technology, and we use lasers to make that happen. Through an invisible beam, we safely deliver the power to meeting growing demand for connected devices that operate on the ground, in the air, at sea, and in space. Much like the way we install solar panels on rooftops today to collect the sunlight and convert to energy, we use lasers in place of the sun. And we shape and the light, and we direct it, and we beam it to a power receiver that collects the light, and we convert that back into usable electricity for powering stationary and moving assets night or day. Over the last 4 years, we've been undergoing a technology due diligence with the Department of Defense, and we're just now moving out of the science and technology phase and into operationalizing the systems through the Department of the Navy. And so we're just in the process of starting a private fundraise to augment the DoD funds to accelerate our commercialization efforts. So if anybody listening is interested to hear more, we'd love to talk with you about that.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you, the panelists. So I'm going to throw the first question out to Heather. Heather, what do you think the most attractive sectors are right now for early stage investors for firms in the Northwest in our region?
Yeah, there's so much to choose from here. It's hard to to pick winners. I think obviously our firm is concentrated, as I said, in the areas of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we think those are up and coming. The industrial revolution is according to most experts supposed to be dwarfed in terms of productivity increase by the AI and ML revolution. And we're also expecting that sort of revolution will be slow moving. It will be sort of a 30 to 40 year process, of which we're certainly in the first decade. So much more to come there. And it will affect every industry, every consumer behavior, and will be really, really transformative of all of those industries. I think the other area that we don't personally spend a lot of time in, but we'd like to spend more, and is probably not enough yet on the radar of the region, is the intersection between life sciences and big data and artificial intelligence and machine learning. We are doing some things in that area here in this region, but if you look at the companies that we have here, the strength on the enterprise side, the strength in sort of the trust that brands like Microsoft and Amazon have in dealing with data, they would be ideally situated to spawn some very interesting health data companies. And then you look at the strength that we have in our health sciences here in the region, there's great talent there. So I'm looking for more talent to spin out of our existing health sciences ecosystem and our existing enterprise AI ecosystem and form some new companies in that area. That would be my sort of hope for the way the region could make its next big mark. And certainly crises like COVID just give tailwind to that concept.
Great, thank you. So the next question will be for you, Andy. And Heather mentioned talent. We're wondering if the pipeline of talent for the Northwest is holding up. Are we getting the people? Are we getting the ideas that we need to continue to go forward with a lot of momentum with? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say that the pipeline is robust right now, and for a couple of reasons. One is definitely tech, and especially big tech, has seen tremendous tailwinds in their business, so they're continuing to hire. And with that hiring, we're seeing more and more folks with deep insight moving into the local area, even despite COVID. And so I think what we're finding is 2020 and 2021 is lending itself to be actually a really good vintage to be investing. Entrepreneurs are higher conviction type entrepreneurs, and they're coming from these businesses with deep insights in terms of where the opportunities are coming from. And they have higher conviction because right now it makes a lot more sense to stay in a high-paying job with soaring stock prices. And so the ones that are coming out have high conviction. They're writing their own checks, and they're much more disciplined in terms of building businesses from the ground up, which provides, a great scaling ability as well. So we really think the pipeline has been solid, and also the talent coming in has been very exciting to see.
Great, thank you. Next question is for you, Richard, and you sort of referenced this in your opening remarks, but wondering, as a venture-backed company with a disruptive technology like you have you seen the capital markets or investors expand or contract their willingness to invest in early stage projects like yours?
We've been really fortunate to have a partner in the Department of Defense that's put in about $10 million for our technology advancements and maturation. And so at this point, as we're just going out to look at a private raise, the sentiment we're getting is that big tech is on the high end of valuation, and that there's a lot of folks that are interested and have the capital to get involved in the companies in the lower valuation spectrum. And we certainly fit that profile. But as we go out and talk with more folks, we'll get a better sense of if that's truly the case or not. But it certainly feels like it.
Thank you. Great. Heather, kind of along the same lines, question to you. What do you think about how funds are flowing to startups and entrepreneurs? Has it kept pace, increase, decrease in the last 8 months during COVID?
Yeah, we definitely had a slump as the shock of COVID hit everybody in March and April in terms of deal flow. But that deal flow has really accelerated. The summer is always a bit slower, and so we were planning on and anticipating a real surge in the fall, and we've certainly seen that. Unfortunately, also a surge in COVID. But entrepreneurs, as Andy said, I totally agree with him. They are, much stronger, much hardier. These are people who are absolutely convicted about their thesis. And so what we're seeing now are a lot of folks who are looking at the environment, looking at the permanent changes to business and consumer behavior coming out of COVID, and really making a lot of headway on new ideas. The other thing that we would say is that most of our founders are engineers and are technical. And so they are all working from home, and honestly, taking commutes and meetings out of their sort of daily routine has freed up a ton of time. So we are seeing a lot of side projects, and that is really beneficial to deal flow. So everybody's got something that they're working on. They may not be willing to leave their big company until they really see somebody willing to write them a check, but everybody's got a side hustle and has got a couple of ideas that they're incubating on the side, which is terrific, and what we love to see, and what Seattle has always historically been great at. And when I say Seattle, of course, I mean the Seattle region. So again, thank you, Bellevue. I've got to sign off, but I love this. Can't wait to re-engage with all of you and with the audience at a future time. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Heather, for being with us. Question for you, Andy. Can you share a couple of examples of firms or people that you're kind of excited about that have gotten your attention in the last 8 months during COVID? And why is that? What is it that's attracting you and your firm to support them?
Yeah, I'd point to one of the deals that we're leading right now. It's called Plunk. It is in the residential real estate sector, focused on providing kind of strong data insight into how to think about your home as an asset. And it turns out homes are now, if you're a homeowner, it's probably the largest asset that's on your balance sheet. And what are the opportunities to be able to monetize your home? How to think about, if you have an extra dollar in your pocket, where should you put that in your home to get the most return? How do you reduce expenses and so forth? And it's really timely right now. And so we're excited about it. Really strong entrepreneurs that attracted us to it. Very strong data background. Obviously being in the home of Zillow and Redfin and other real estate tech companies, it's really a great place to be building a new startup like Plunk. And so, so we're excited about that. And overall, COVID, just to talk a little bit about that with hanging on Heather's words too, is, we end up closing 8 up rounds out of 7 companies. We invested in 22 companies, but 7 of our companies had 8 up rounds. So really, really strong tailwinds in technology, and excited that Seattle and this Northwest ecosystem is seeing some of those tailwinds.
Great, thank you. So Richard, has COVID had any impact on the way that your company is thinking about your markets? Or has it pretty much been, straight head forward, not really being impacted by COVID for your particular company?
Well, I think everybody's impacted to a degree, and it certainly has us thinking an awful lot about it. I was at a conference in early March, and I remember as I was about to come back to Washington, I was told by our COO, don't plan to come to work, and things were really starting to change very quickly. And so we adapted very quickly to be able to space our people out, have them at home. Heather mentioned earlier, from an engineering perspective, not having to commute really saves on meeting times and all of that to be more productive. In our case, we're building hardware, and so we have to space out. It was fortuitous that we secured additional real estate in April, and we were able to spread our engineers out to be safe about it. We also made the commitment as a company that said, this is going to be a big deal. What can we do to not have it impact us to a point where we get taken down with the economy in terms of a slowdown and a feel like that's okay because everybody's going through it. So we made the decision that said every process we can control, let's accelerate that. Let's take the bull by the horns and make a real difference and make 2020 count. And the team has rallied around that. they've done a fantastic job, and the company's is coming out of 2020 with some really significant advances in front of us. And our key customer right now, the Department of Defense and a major telecom company, have been really pleased at the progress that we're making. So that is, I think, speaking earlier to the fact that we've got a really seasoned team and we're really headstrong in making this happen.
Very good examples of how internally COVID has impacted things. But this question out to you, Andy, and then maybe Richard, you could follow up as well. You know, what kinds of new products and markets are people creating as a result of COVID? What are we getting into now that, you know, wasn't there in January and February?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say even in our last couple of investments that we've made were related to how we think the kind of the new level set we're going to see due to COVID. One we made in a UVC related cleaning tech, and then also one that we made in the mental health space. We believe that these are sectors that will continue to see significant behavior change, and there's going to be a new normal moving forward. So we're looking at brand new companies in the future of work. We're looking at health tech. We're looking at a variety of sectors, I think, that are going to be new kind of winners. One very interesting development as of late, it's gone kind of viral too, but I do think that there's a tremendous amount of momentum, and Microsoft's taken a very, very close look at it by licensing GPT-3, but it is using AI to generate human-like language, and the use cases are endless on it. And so I think that there are going to be a slew of startups, especially in this region, that will be coming up with brilliant ideas to take advantage of it. And so I suspect that we will be looking at some really interesting companies coming out of this area around GPT-3.
Great, thanks. Anything you want to say about that, Richard?
You know, Andy's got certainly a much broader view of the world and how things are shaking out. From my simple perspective, what I see and we see is certainly telehealth and home exercise gear has taken off to a whole new level. And, you know, certainly keeping an eye out for family, neighbors, and colleagues is a really big deal to keep people safe and healthy along this way. I think the other thing that I'm noticing is the generational process of apps being available to folks from grade school to grandparents, and making the apps easy to use and easy to log in and understand. I think that is interesting to see how people are communicating and getting connected. It's also revealing a little bit of our bandwidth and connectivity, and where we have bandwidth and connectivity available to rural communities and places around the world that don't have the bandwidth that need to connect with people. And I think that's revealing a gap that allows for a very big investment to happen and get us all more connected evenly.
Great, thank you. So we had a couple of great examples of COVID-induced innovation, and the next question I want to ask you maybe answered a little bit already, Andy, is okay, regardless of COVID, you know, 2 or 3 years from now, what are some things that are really going to be hot and really gaining momentum? And I think you just gave us an example, but maybe is there another one, or what do you think?
Yeah. So I kind of alluded to it, but I do think there is a new normal in terms of the future of work. It's very clear that the bar for travel is going to go much higher for business travel. We're just used to doing more video meetings, and sales calls are now things are done virtually. And so with that as the bar, I suspect that we're going to see some more innovation around virtual conferences, virtual interactions, virtual happy hours, family meetings, a lot more innovation. I think video is just tapping the surface of that. So I suspect there's going to be more collaboration. There is this notion of distributed workforces. I think that's going to be really interesting to track, because one of the things I think has been challenging in Seattle and Bellevue is that attracting talent has been expensive, and a lot of times we let really great talent leave the U.S. Due to the immigration policy. But a lot of those borders are now becoming borderless, And so to the extent that the entrepreneurs are able to create great cultures and great collaboration, you can now take advantage of a worldwide workforce in new and innovative ways. So I do think that there's going to be some fantastic companies that are being born out of kind of these new bars that are being set due to COVID and how it's revolutionized how we work.
Thank you. Richard, what would you say?
You know, this is a bit self-serving on our side, but it also shows how focused we are. I think, as Andy said, you know, talent is, the Puget Sound is talent rich, and we're actually seeing success of recruiting people that are moving into the state to join our company. From the standpoint of new and opportunistic, we are gunning for, and in fact have the support of the Department of Defense in developing a wireless power beaming hub in the Puget Sound area. It's a new technology. The implications are very big in terms of the idea of revolutionizing the delivery of electricity, and it applies to everyday life. And so the amount of opportunities, the amount of the ecosystem that the Puget Sound is so well situated in terms of an engineering and manufacturing base, that all the right ingredients are here to make that happen. And so we're going all in to be a driver in helping develop that, and certainly reaching out to our state reps and briefing people on this progress. And there is certainly a lot of attention in this area given to countries from Japan, China, Russia, that we're taking it very seriously and moving this forward. I think is the old school way, brick at a time, but things are accelerating fairly quickly now.
Great. I think this is going to be our last question. I think we have time for one more. So sometimes when you read things, hear things, you think that Seattle is losing its juice as a great entrepreneurial startup location. So what do you think? Are we still a great place to be a startup? And if we are, you know, what's keeping us that way? What are our strengths? Andy, you want to start?
Yeah, I think it's still a very favorable environment to be creating companies in Seattle, Bellevue area. I would say the community is fantastic. This is one of the rare communities, I think, in the world where people truly are rooting for each other's success. And so there's a robust ecosystem of support. You know, people really do want to see people succeed. I think that there's just tremendous amount of momentum in technology, despite what's going on in, I think, the political sphere. I think that this is a tremendous environment. So the amount of innovation that's happening at the big tech companies here are spurring on folks to come up with new ideas. And you know, there is a great livability environment in Seattle too. You're still an hour away from the slopes. You're outdoors. There's just so many good factors that I think people find it to be a great place to raise a family and a great place to be able to build a business. So, you know, I'd love to see obviously some more policies change and so forth. But outside of that, I think despite that, we've got a very robust entrepreneurial environment in Seattle.
Great. We have just a few seconds left, Richard. Anything you would add to that?
I think Andy said that well, and I certainly echo that sentiment. It's a vibrant environment in the Puget Sound. It's friendly to entrepreneurialism. The spirit is high, and there's an awful lot of spin-off opportunities that Heather described earlier. And I think the ecosystem is right to keep running hard for many, many decades to come.
Great. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, and thanks to Heather for her comments as well. Appreciate you joining us this morning, and I think we're going back to the live main session now. So thank you for being with us, everyone, and thanks again to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.